So let's get started. This is the collection of ingredients that I'm going to be using. So this is to make a vegan sponge that my sister has made before. This is the recipe guide here, although she has given me some top tips of little things to do slightly differently to make it absolutely perfect. So I'm going to make this vegan sponge cake, but instead of having the cream and jam, I'm going to make it into a coffee cake by adding some coffee icing and some walnuts on top. So that's how Adam likes it. He really loves this sponge, and the addition of the coffee and walnut I think is going to make it really perfect for him. So I'm just starting by obviously greasing the cake tins with a vegan margarine, and I'm doing a double cake, so I'm just doing the 2 cake tins just like that, and then we'll get started on making the actual cake. So as with most recipes, I started by measuring out the vegan margarine and the sugar, and I then started to mix those together in my mixer. So while that was mixing up, I got my dry ingredients and my other wet ingredients together. For the dry, that is just some self-raising flour and a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. So I mixed those together in a bowl, and then I added some vanilla essence and a tiny bit of salt to the butter and the sugar. So as you can see, it's starting to look nice and fluffy. And that's when I started to add in the vegan milk, which I was using oat milk that has a tiny bit of apple cider vinegar added into it, which really helps the recipe to thicken. Now, this is a bit that's slightly different. This is the advice I was given from my sister. In the recipe, it says to add everything in all together, but she advised that it was actually much better to start adding a tiny bit of the milk and then little bits of the dry mix of the flour and bicarbonate of soda bit by bit, because she found that sometimes when you add it all together, the recipe splits. So I followed her advice and we had absolutely no problems at all. I was just really patient with adding everything in bit by bit. So once the mix gets to this sort of consistency, I then split it between the 2 baking tins to make 2 small sponges. Once they were nicely evenly spread out, I popped them in the oven and left them for 20 minutes. It cooks really, really quickly, and then they came out like this, a nice golden brown colour. These were slightly hard on the edges, but actually by the time I was eating it, I was a little worried it was going to be too dry, but it was one of the most lovely moist cakes I've ever had, so that wasn't a problem. I then made the butter icing, which is just vegan butter, with the coffee, and I covered that all over the cake, and as you can see, it looks so yummy. I did some tidying up around the bottom. I like it looking really rough and ready, so then we tidied it up and just added some walnuts on the top. So that's it. That's how we made our vegan coffee and walnut cake. As you can see from the pictures, it looked really great, and everybody that had it really loved it. So definitely give this a try, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to keep up to date with us.